Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is Nick Miller, and I am excited to bring you a podcast today from Mason Panos, who runs Panovision Films based out of Las Vegas. Had a really good conversation with him about his story as a wedding filmmaker and how he got into it, his success with having a mentor in David at Forestry Films, and how faith has impacted his business and how he's really blown up over there on Instagram, growing about 20,000 followers in the last year is what he said. So anyway, a really good episode. I hope it's an encouragement to you, especially if you're feeling stressful and stuck maybe in your business. He had some really good things to say about that whenever he was those things in his business there. So before we get started with this conversation with Mason, I want to tell you about our friends over at VidFlow. VidFlow is the premier place where you can upload your wedding films. They are an incredible service. They are pay per project. And if you'd like more information about VidFlow, you can get it at howtofilmweddings.com/VidFlow. It is client presentation matters, and how you show yourself off is really, really important. And that goes all the way through delivering your films. If you would like to elevate that experience, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/VidFlow. Also, I know that they are in the process of releasing photography galleries as well. So definitely go check it out if you are a photo video business and you would like to deliver all of your stuff in one fell swoop. That's what I would recommend. So thanks for tuning in today. It's been a while since I have done an interview like this, and I am glad to be here with you. So we are now going to jump into this podcast with Mason. Enjoy, and we'll see you on the other side.
Well, my name's Mason. I was born in California and then moved to Las Vegas when I was 7. And I always had a GoPro in my hand growing up. My family was pretty active and outdoorsy, camping, ATVs, whatever it was. We were always outdoors, and so I always had a GoPro with me, and it kind of just was like my hobby to create something fun every time we'd go out and show my buddies when we got back, and so I had done that a couple years, and then a couple people had asked about weddings, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, but I had enough awareness to not with a GoPro, that you need somebody who's got the proper equipment to capture that appropriately for you guys. So I said no to 4 people, and then it was right around the time where I had graduated high school, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and for me that was a very stressful process of figuring out what I wanted to do. So my parents had been real estate agents all my life, so I was pretty used to having the ability to manage your own schedule and just the flexibility that was there. So when people started asking about weddings, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe that's an avenue that I should pursue. So I actually sold the ATV and bought my first camera, and then kind of just slowly got a little bit busier and busier as time went on. And then I was kind of trying to figure out if weddings was necessarily the route that I wanted to pursue. I definitely had interest in branding and just working with companies and stuff like that. And then you might know them, Forestry Films. I reached out to David and was like, hey, if you ever need me to shadow you at a wedding and just film you, if you ever if you're in need of content of any sort, I would love just to do that and just learn from you guys. And he actually had me come out a week later for a wedding in San Francisco, and that experience really just projected me and my decision towards weddings, and also kind of my approach to it. David, just the way he worked with his couples and the relationship that was there, it wasn't necessarily just a client vendor relationship. It seemed very genuine and just there was a lot of care put into how he approached it. And so, man, I left that like so motivated. And so ever since then, that's kind of just been the direction I went and the approach I try to have. And like you mentioned, I'm a Christian, and so my faith plays a huge part in kind of just the service that I want to provide people. And so yeah, here we are now, and it's crazy. And like I followed you guys for years and like looked up to your guys' work and everything. So it's like such an honor to be on your guys' podcast.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. It's really cool, hearing different people's stories and how you got into it and all that kind of stuff. I want to unpack and kind of talk through some of this stuff that you just shared here. So you're back in high school, you're getting ready to graduate. How long ago was that?
So I graduated high school in 2014. So yeah, it's been 11 years since I graduated, and it's been about 8 since I went full time with wedding videos.
Okay. So, excuse me. So you graduated high school, these people did you, in your story, did you, film a few weddings and then realize, holy cow, this is a much bigger thing than I thought it was, and then you reached out to David? Or was it kind of all at the same time, you just decided to reach out to him and talk to him about that?
Yeah, no, I would say that I probably was doing weddings for about a year or two before I had connected with Forestry Films. And I think that for like the year or two, I think weddings was overwhelming and like extremely stressful. And I think that that was swaying me away from it. And the thing I'm most thankful for is reaching out to David, because he also has that course that changed everything and really like helped remove the stress and made the wedding experience less stressful and more like just joyful and like easy. And so yeah, it was a couple years before that connection.
Okay. So you're saying, stressful. And I think that there's a lot of our listeners out there that can probably relate, to that. What would you say, thinking back on it, if you can, think back over the last decade, what parts of it were the most stressful? Like what was the thing that just you were really hitting your head on that made you not want to do this, or maybe made you want to give up? What was that?
Sure. I think it's the responsibility that you hold capturing a wedding day, and the fact that there's not really any retakes. Obviously like portraits and all that, like you can redo things, but when it comes to like ceremony and first kisses, like there's certain points of the day that are critical that you get it right. And so I think starting out, that was very, very stressful, and you just didn't want to mess that up.
Yeah. And, and then being young solo entrepreneur and stuff, you have the stress of the day itself, but then, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is most people's stories. You get started, your prices are cheap because you don't know what you're doing. You're just getting started. And before you know it, you look up and you have 25 or 30 weddings booked. And then you're like, I didn't raise my prices, so I don't know. Now I'm only making $1,000 per wedding or something, and I have all this stuff booked, and that just kind of compiles and adds to the overall feeling, the stress, this responsibility. Is that?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And then as you're booking more and more weddings, and you're experiencing something new at every one of them, and you're like, gosh, I wasn't prepared for that. And slowly you just like, by experience, I just figured out, okay, like that's something I need to be prepared for if it happens again. That's a piece of equipment that I might need for that scenario if it happens again. And then slowly over time, you like are prepared, and there's less things that jump out. You're like, oh, okay, I can handle this or whatnot. But yeah, for those first however many weddings, it's like, dang, something new every time. It felt like.
Yeah. And it's as we go and we film, it's you could listen to me and you can listen to other people and like, do this, don't do this, do this, whatever. But the best teacher is whenever you screw up and then you're like, oh, now I understand why Nick said this, David said this, John, I understand it, but it wasn't at the forefront because I've never failed with that. So, you're talking about this stress and this responsibility and, just all the things compiling. And then, you reached out to David, and that seems to be, in listening to your story, that was really the catalyst for change. Like that was whenever a shift really happened in your business. So what would you say were the helpful things that were able to help you, get around that curve or over that bend or over that hill? What were those things?
Yeah, I would say it was probably a couple things. So one, just like processes really helped. And something that I think David really did well in his course, I'd recommend it to anybody, is that the processes started far before the wedding day, and that relationship with the client was being built in a way to where when you arrived on the wedding day, they greeted you like one of their guests, not one of their vendors. And like, I think when you get like a greeting like that from the couple, it like instantly makes you relax a little bit, just because like they're so excited to have you there, and they're so like, they want you there as a person as well as their videographer. And that just made like a huge difference from the very start. And then just his processes and his approaches throughout the day, so that you kind of knew your plan, and your plan then set you up for success with different things that might pop up that might be different. And also, I think with his processes leading into the wedding day, it reduced the amount of things that popped up without you expecting it to, because you had already discussed things with the client and had better communication to where you were really prepared for their day because you had just done your due diligence ahead of time.
Yeah. I have a video friend here in town, and he does a lot of commercial, kind of stuff. And we were talking one day, and he said, I couldn't do what you do because my whole world centers around, pre-production and, like the stuff like leading up to it. And I think we as wedding video people, it's like, well, it happens as it happens. And there really isn't much pre-production that you can do. And from a filming standpoint, like, yeah, that's true, to an extent. You don't know where the couple's going to be getting ready, or, you don't know what the venue might look like, or, something. But also that seems to be, just having a process from, okay, here's when the inquiry comes in, and they've booked me. Now, what am I going to do over the next 6 months, 12 months, whatever, so that you can build that relationship and have that process with those couples.
Right. Yeah, and the other thing too, I think that when I had started out, I think this is just like the nature of the space that we're all in as creators. You want to just get on Instagram and you see people's work and you're like, man, like, why didn't this wedding look like that? And I think it took me a little while to realize that, just like you're saying, the venues are just different. And sometimes like you can't compare what someone's footage might look, because that venue just naturally might look a lot different on film. And so something that I had to like shift my mindset on with that was that like the client picked this space for a certain reason, and regardless of like how over the top that specific room might look or that venue might look on video, to them it had a purpose. And like that, I think, comes across to the client far more than just this perfect visual. And I think once I shifted that mindset a little bit, it really helped with just a boost of confidence putting films out, because the intention wasn't just to wow people with a visual, but to tell a story, and made a huge difference.
Yeah, it's so easy in our industry, and with, so many other industries, I'm sure as well. I'm just not in those other industries, where we are trying to impress. Like I make a video and I don't necessarily, it's like the couple, if they love it, great. But what I really care about, does Mason love this video? And it's like, we're trying to impress other videographers with our cool editing techniques or our cool shot or, whatever. And that's not what we're here to do, or we shouldn't be here to do, right? We're here to serve the couple and work with them really, really well. And you're right, they did pick it. It might not have been their first choice. It might not have been, but that doesn't matter because this was the place that they picked. So, like hearing that and understanding that transition. So, to kind of talk to me a little bit about the last, 8 years, 7 years, kind of after you went through this stuff and you had a mentor and you connected with someone in the industry that could really help you. What major things would you say shifted whenever stuff became less stressful? And not saying that it's not stressful at all, but maybe not as stressful in the same way.
Yeah. So I would say that after I had experienced that with David and Forestry Films and then their Craft 5K course, I think that because it helped to just feel a little bit better on the wedding day, that it left more space on a wedding day for me to be like really intentional and not so technical. So I think that just having that comfortability that like I had it covered, I was going to be prepared for what was there, that I could go in with the mindset of like capturing the couple and the day with like the rawness of what it was like when you were there and not be so worried about camera settings or camera placement, and like that you could capture story without the perfect shot. And there's times now, like even I'll pick shots over another one where the other one's probably visually to us videographers the better shot, but there was more story behind the one that I chose. And I think it just far benefited my films. And so because of that, I think I was able to start creating films that better grasp the emotion throughout the day. And I think people just connected with it a little bit better. And yeah, so then I started being able to connect with clients that were a little bit more like emotional and just like connected in that way. And I guess better just like pinpointed my clientele, and who like I loved to work with and the type of people that I was able to serve the best. Because not every client reaching out to me, I would say I'm the right fit for, and vice versa. And so I think it just gave me better direction with that. And then because of that, I was able just to grow a little bit better. I think having the right people you're working with transitions into better work for yourself too. And therefore it's like just this upward path and trend that works in both your client's benefit and your benefit for sure.
I'm going to pause this conversation with Mason really quick to tell you about our friends over at howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. It is getting ready to be really, really busy wedding season. Summer months here in the Northern Hemisphere are happening, and I know a lot of people's schedules are filling up, and a lot of people are booking weddings, and a lot of people are filming weddings. And with that comes the ever-present backlog. Having an outsourcing partner, having someone that can take a lot of that burden off of you is huge, and especially if you want to grow your business. So head over to howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing to see a list of our vetted partners. Ones I want to spotlight today are brideandgroom.video and Story Mix Media. Both of them do incredible work. We have had relationships with them for the last couple of years, and they will not let you down. So if you would like more information about either of those companies or anyone else on our website, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. Secure those partners, get some of that backlog off of your plate so that you can run and grow your business. Now let's jump back into this episode with Mason. I mean, whenever you are excited about the weddings that you are working at, and excited about the couples, and like all of that thing. Like you're more creative, you're more passionate about all those things. And whenever there's people that we talk to that they don't like their job and they're so stressed and they're all this kind of stuff, and it's like, well, who are you working with? And they're like, well, I don't really care about any of this kind of stuff. And not to say that there isn't sometimes you just you need money and you have to take a job and you have to do that kind of thing. But if you can figure out a way to get into the world that you're in, where it's like, I'm going to continue to post this type of stuff and show these kind of moments because those are the people that I want to work with. I really like what you state, capture the story even without the perfect shot. I'll never forget, this was a while ago. I was filming a wedding and the bride was reading her letter, getting very emotional, like it was an in, and this bridesmaid came in the door, goes, "Oop," and then left. Which that wasn't a big deal, but it was like an automatic slamming. It slammed so loud shut right when that was going on. And as I'm editing, like it was a great part of the letter. And I told my wife, I was like, we can't include this because of that noise. And she goes, why not? And I was like, because it looks bad on us for me to include that. And she goes, but that moment is way more important than how we look. And there's so many times as you're saying that we flip it and we care more about how we look than what we're trying to do for the people that we're working with.
Man, I could not agree with that more. Like that, because stuff just happens on the wedding day, and that's like a perfect example of that. And I think that's where I try to shift my mindset of like a Christ-like service, and it's not about me and the film I'm making. It's about their day, their story, and capturing it for sometimes the way it just worked out that day. And as tough as some days are, like we do our best to make it just look incredible. But it's not. I think if you're trying to create a film that is like, if I'm creating a film that like is for me, I'm always disappointed in it. And if I end up creating a film with like my heart's in the place of just telling their story and making something that they're gonna love, and I just feel like I get the best responses from that on Instagram. I get more fulfillment from that. The clients' responses, because they just fell in love with it, are so much more fulfilling, and I could not agree more with that.
Yeah, that's really really true. In my experience, doing this for a long time as well, that whenever you put the client first and you have what they want and what they desire, one of the things that I talk about, in my client meetings, with my couples is I, say, obviously we have our editing style and there's certain things that we'd like to do, but I am not going to turn your wedding day into something that it wasn't, just because that might be my preference, right? It's like shoving a square peg in a round hole or whatever. Like it just, you might love the video, oh, it was really pretty or whatever, but if you don't feel like that was us, like a good representation, then I feel like I've really missed the mark in, putting together the stuff that I put together. You've mentioned your faith a couple of times, and just reading through your website, and I see that you are very outspoken about that. And so how would you say that your faith has maybe guided you a little bit in running a business and how you are interacting with the people that you're working with?
I would say that the biggest thing for me is just the type of service I'm giving, both to the client and to the other vendors that I'm working with. I think obviously not every client I work with shares the same faith, and that's totally okay. But my approach to a wedding day remains the same, and I value that. So that marriage is so special, and I still treat their day with that same perspective and value. And I think it just allows me to serve them in a way that's just going to benefit their experience throughout the day. And I think for me, that goes beyond just being their videographer. Like, I think there's times throughout the day where you can be more than that, and you can like provide them with water if they need it. Like, just the simplest things I think can really make their experience far superior. And just carrying myself in a way that is healthy, and like the way that I feel like I want to present myself and my business. And so yeah, like I definitely have that as a part of my website. I post on my Instagram, and you know, in the last year, my Instagram has gone up in followers, and you know, I feel like it's just a platform that for me is a space where like a lot of people are looking at me, and I just want to be a good representation of God and like my faith as best as I can. I'm certainly never perfect, but I'm thankful for all that I have in my business, and I would not have it without that. So
yeah, one thing that I think is you know, because I know there's lots of people that are listening to this that aren't, you know, faith people, and that's, you know, that's fine. But I think the thing that one of the things, if we're kind of shifting this, you know, just a little bit, is that you have your mission, your vision for your business, and that's a big part of it. And I'm guessing just, you know, that whenever you started taking your personal vision for your business and you started including that was a part of that shift that started, you know, really launching you and propelling you in a different direction. And so would you agree with that statement?
Totally.
I'm totally guessing. Totally.
No,
Okay.
you're dead on. Yeah, I think for sure it played a huge part. I think when you're starting out, I had this like fear that I'm gonna lose business because of it, or like people might find it unrelative to what I'm doing. And I got to a point where I was like, that's okay if like I'm not for everybody. And that is, I think, the beauty of our industry, is that there is so many of us, which means that there is someone else that can fit them perfectly if you don't, and that is totally okay. And so I just really shifted and took the approach to like, this is who I am, and this is what you're gonna get, and the level of service that I want to bring to you, regardless if we share the same faith or not. And when I started doing that, I got a lot of people reaching out, and you know, really the opposite happened for me. Or I had people reaching out saying that they loved my work and everything, but they wanted to book me because I was very open about my faith, and they were going to have a lot of faith aspects to their wedding day. And so the connection just with my clients got a lot stronger, because it was just like a deeper connection than just a vendor-client relationship. And then one of my first ones like that, the wedding like just went so amazing, and that wedding video, like, I mean, to this day, that was probably 5 years ago, and I still get people saying that that's the wedding video that made them want to pick me. And it's like, damn, I don't even know how you found that video. It's so far down. But, you know, it just, because there was like such a genuine place from my perspective going to that film and the connection with the client, I think just your work, it ends up being far better because of that. And so it did make a huge difference.
Right. And, you know, one thing that we've said, you know, on our podcast time and time again is that, you know, people don't want to buy from nameless, faceless corporations. You know, they want to buy from people. They want to work with people. And, you know, the saying that we've said 100 times that you've probably heard, you know, show the kind of stuff that you want to shoot. And that isn't just the videos that you put on on your website, right? It's the stories that you put on Instagram, what you share on, your posts on, all that stuff. And so how you communicate and how you talk and how you express yourself and whatever that may be, there are going to be people that are going to find you and reach out to you if you continue with that sort of stuff. And so, I think when it comes to, people out there listening, when it comes to your mission, to your vision or whatever, like take some time and figure that out. Like what do you want your business to be about? What do you want people to remember about you? How do you want to, brand yourself and show off? And that is going to, go take you a long way, I would say, in your business.
Yeah, I agree. I think to like thinking about rather than providing just a video for somebody, but an experience, I think also helped just with that from start to finish. There's an experience with booking me rather than like you're just getting a video. I want the whole experience to be fulfilling for them. And like the weddings are fun, and so I think every aspect of working with me should give you the same feeling, and so that's kind of my goal.
Yeah, and you're right, with an experience, especially as you start, the quality of your film starts getting better and better, and then your prices because of that go up and up and up. It's like, well, why would I hire Mason? And I don't know, pricing, but he costs $10,000, but this guy down the street only costs $3,000. Like why should I do? And that's one of those areas that you have to excel upon if you want to command higher pricing. And I think people just like to think, oh, nope, I have 25,000 followers on Instagram and, my work's really cool. Like that's all that matters, but you need more than that for sure.
I completely agree. I think like there's so many people I follow that, don't have like this crazy follower count on their Instagram, and I think that they're just so incredible at what they do, and I just think that they express themselves so well and allow people to connect with them that people they're convinced that they want to work with that person or myself before they've even reached out, and they're willing to pay for you, not just the video. Like they're choosing you as well. They already like your work from what they've seen, but I think people do make a lot of heart decisions based on just the person that's behind the camera as well, because it plays a huge part in the whole experience.
Yeah. I think there's this there's a Zig Ziglar quote in it. I'm going to butcher it, but the idea is when you purchase something, especially big purchases, it's not a logical decision. It's an it's an emotional decision. And so whenever you are presented with, oh, here's video A and video B that are both good and make you kind of feel something, like what are you doing more? Like what's deeper? How are they connecting with that person? And, for you, putting your faith out there, for some people, like that connects with them emotionally, and they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that will look at that and say, heck no, I'm going to go the other direction. And like that's okay. Like you were saying earlier, we live in you live in the Vegas area. There's more than just a couple people that live there. And so there's lots of options that you can go to. And I know I would much rather have someone work with someone that they're excited about than begrudgingly hire me because of something or whatever.
I totally agree. I tell people, like when I have my initial call with clients, I tell them like, I know you guys would not be on this call if you didn't like the work you've seen. So I want this call to be about like getting to know each other, because if you don't feel like we're a good fit, I don't want you to feel like you have to hire me because you like my work. Like there's so many artists out there with just as good, if not better, work than myself. And so if you feel more connected to them, like 100% that's the direction you should go. And I think people feel like really resonate with that. That takes the pressure off of picking vendors, and I think it just allows them to make more of a heart decision rather than just like, oh, we got to pick somebody. Like they see the value in picking someone that they'd be excited to have there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm really encouraged by your story and, hearing all the good things that you've been doing. So, how, as we're kind of wrapping up, a little bit, I saw on your Instagram, that you're reaching almost 30,000, followers on there and stuff. Like what was there one kind of moment that happened, or is it kind of just consistent posting? Like what, I know a lot of people are interested, at Instagram and growing their accounts and stuff. Like, do you have like a strategy or anything that you've been implementing to, grow that account?
So yeah, well, let me start with, I've been doing this full time since 2016, and only almost exactly a year ago, I only had 4,000 followers. So I say that to encourage you that like it was so many years before I made progress. And for others, it happens a lot sooner, but for me, it didn't. And I think for a while, like that felt discouraging. But then I just like kept posting. I was like, that's just a number, and that number does not determine my value or the quality of the work that I'm producing. And so I made it more about just like posting to just be in front of people and get new inquiries and stuff like that, rather than like this number like on Instagram. And so then I started like paying more attention just to what kind of posts were doing a little bit better for me than others. And like for me, it was the like vows did really well for me, and they're like the simplest edits. Like for a while I'd put together these like crazy edits, teaser films that I'd work on like however long to make, post, and like I'd be like, I feel great about it, that's cool, and then nothing really came of it. And then I started putting together these super simple, just like cuts from a couple camera angles of them just saying their vows at the altar, and threw some captions on it. And like I felt like instantly you could tell people were commenting more, or like just sharing more. You could see the interaction was just far better. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's kind of where I like shifted my posting, was trying just to share tender moments and like genuine moments, and completely not make the edit like anything special, and just let those moments be like super raw. And well, obviously I'd color it and make the sound great, but as far as just like the way I was piecing it together was nothing fancy. And then one of them was a post that I had done the elopement with the couple, and then they had on a later date, they did this huge party where everyone coming thought it was a birthday party, and it was really like they played the elopement film and everyone realized like, oh snap, they got married. And so I posted that, and that one was interesting because it was kind of controversial in the comments. I had some ugly things said in the comments, like why would they do that, and the other things like, oh my gosh, that's like so cool, and like we want to do that. And like because of the controversy on it, obviously it boosted that a little bit for me. And so that was like the first one that did pretty good. That one had a couple million views on it, and did good view wise, but it didn't like skyrocket any follower count or anything. And then I had another one where the groom's dad had passed away, and the bride wrote a letter to the dad that she read at the ceremony. And like I just posted the simplest edit of her reading that, and that one blew up. But it had like 4 million or something on it, and like my follower count just was climbing during that. And so I think since then I've just focused on like producing stuff that's either like has like some sort of education to it that is helping the people that follow me that might be wanting to learn from me, or posts that have like some sort of emotion and catches like the heart of the person watching. And when I do that, I feel like I just get better interaction, and then like the consistency of posting just helps kind of keeping you climbing a little bit. For me, I like if I haven't posted in a week or so as of right now, and like you can tell like you don't have like as many followers coming in at that time, and then if you're like consistently posting, it's a slow climb, and all you need is one to catch. And that's what happened for me. Like in a year, I've gotten like 20,000 followers, and like it's all because of just one catching. Like, and so I guess my encouragement to people would just be to, one, don't let that determine your value, and don't let it discourage you, because there's so many people that have not a high follower count whose work is absolutely incredible. And just keep posting, and then one will catch, and you'll just slowly get there. And yeah, I still, even having gotten some followers, I still think it's just a number. Like it, I think people expect that when that number climbed, that you just be slammed with twice as many inquiries. And like for myself, I can't say that that's the case. I just think that, and that could just be the space I'm in too. Like the people are reaching out with like, want a little bit more like human connection between their vendor. There might be another space of clientele where that number means a lot to them, and like you could benefit from that if that is your space you're in. But for myself, the number really didn't, like, I wouldn't say project my business in any certain way. Maybe just added some credibility. But yeah.
Yeah, I think a couple takeaways. Number one, you continue to post with stuff, I'm assuming, that was on brand with what you wanted to do. You weren't, you're like, I like these types of moments, these raw, authentic, real types of moments, and they're just the vows and stuff. And so that's the kind of stuff I want to go with, which fits in line with the type of work that you want to do. Is you want people that are having those kind of reactions and stuff. And so there was that. You weren't, chasing a trend and doing a stupid, dance or, making, like you weren't trying to go viral from like that sense side of things, right? You were just and then the thing that so many people are bad at is just the consistency. And if it's so much better to do, a couple of posts, a week or something like that, rather than, okay, I'm going to post for 7 days straight, and then you ghost it for 6 months. And then, like, which is what a lot of people, kind of do. And so the consistency of it, but also fitting, within your brand. And, I love what you had to say, the number next to your name doesn't validate you or anything like that, which I totally agree. I do think it does give you some validity, whether you feel that it should or it's not. Like, oh, this guy's got 30,000 followers, he must be awesome. And you're like, yeah, I am awesome. You're not going to tell him no, but deep down that it doesn't matter if you have 30,000 followers if no one is hiring you. It does, and it just is the same as, oh, I only have 1,000 followers. Yeah, but I'm fully booked for the next 2 years. Okay, you're doing great. Like it's just a mindset shift on that. So I appreciate all of that. Yeah,
of course. No, I think you said it well. Like, rather than posting with the intention to go viral, I would encourage to post with sharing something special, and that matches your brand.
Being intentional, thinking out through. Now, if like silly dances or whatever is a part, then go for it by all means. But it's the being intentional with that. So Mason, I've enjoyed our conversation. We're gonna wrap up here in a second. Is there a couple of things? One, is there anything else that you want to share that maybe we didn't touch on? And then if people want to check out your work and kind of see what you're about, where would they go?
Yeah, I think I would just end with, like, keep going. If you're watching this and you feeling maybe discouraged or just like stagnant or whatever like it might be, just don't give up. And just keep going and just find what fulfills you and like pursue that in your work, and you'll find clients that resonate with that. And then if you are wanting to reach out or find me, I'm on Instagram at Pano_vision. And then website is panovisionfilms.com. So yeah, you guys can find me there and like message me. I try to be responsive best I can to everybody and I don't gatekeep. So like I'm here, use me as a source.
Okay, great. Well, Mason, I really appreciate you taking the time coming on the podcast today. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Mason, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate you doing that. It's encouraging to hear your story and hear, how things really changed, specifically whenever you got intentional about the vision of your business and having a mentor and doing those things, all things that we like to preach over here on the How to Film Weddings podcast. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. But before we head out, I want to talk to you about our friends over at howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. Musicbed is the place to license your music. They are incredible. They do a great work over there. Their music is the best for us wedding filmmakers. And if you would like to try a free 14-day trial where you can download 3 songs, that's right, 3 songs absolutely for free, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. Sign up for that, download those songs, use them in your films, and switch over to MusicBed. They are incredible. Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been a pleasure doing this podcast with you today. And until next time, we will see you.